Here's how you make garden gold with the compost crank. This is the easiest way to turn your compost pile. Making compost at home has immense value. Not only will you be saving some money, but you'll be cultivating indigenous microbes that are better able to withstand your microclimate, much more so than any compost or ground up organic matter that you're buying in a plastic bag from a big box store. This also enables you to cycle nutrients on your own. As we harvest from our garden and cut it back at the end of the season ahead of our next planting, we're taking away from our soil. Composting at home really is the best way to give back to your garden. I'm Scott from New Garden Road, always out here to inform, inspire, and elevate you. Encouraging biodiversity and restoring habitat is my mission, one garden at a time. When I first saw this tool, I was really curious, and I reached out to the company and I said, hey, would you mind sending me one of these? I'd like to try it out, and in return, I'll make a video. So thank you to Low-Tech for sponsoring this video with your product. Low-Tech is a family-owned company, and each one of these tools is handcrafted in the USA on machines made from recycled parts. Although this is a very simply constructed tool, it has been very sturdy in my experience. It's made from a 3/8 inch solid stainless steel rod, which is free spinning in between two UV stable nylon handles. One thing that I like about it best is that it's 29 inches in length, which really enables me to get down to the base of my compost pile much more effectively than some type of stake or my digging fork would have. It's also very lightweight, coming in at a mere 2 pounds, and that's why I find this to be one of the easiest tools to use for aerating a compost pile. One of the details about composting that I think can be confusing is the terms turning versus aerating. Let's take the example of a backyard gardener who has a tumbling composter. These are essentially barrels that are on a platform and they're free spinning. This enables you to easily spin that barrel and thus aerate the organic matter inside that tumbler. So if we look at it in this way, turning your compost is simply a method for providing aeration. Now I've got a big static compost pile behind me, and that is the way that I like to compost a lot of material all at the same time. And I have a big garden, so I need a little space like that. Now if you look at this pile and you think, I've got to turn this compost pile, that could be a huge chore. But the fact of the matter is that's just not exactly what you have to do. Now at some point along the line, I will turn this compost over, and I'm essentially going to flip it where everything on the top is on the bottom. And that is going to be the resting stage of my compost pile. But historically, when I've been looking to aerate my pile, I've been using something like a 6-foot sturdy stake simply to make air chimneys in that pile. I'll take that stake and I'll drive it down as deep as I can into the pile, go from one place to the next. And another method that I've used has been incorporating a 4-tine digging fork, and I'll take that digging fork and I'll simply stab that compost pile deep as I can, rock it back and forth, and that's acting like a vacuum, and it's sucking in air into the center of that pile. Both of those techniques are fairly laborious. Now enters the Low-Tech compost crank. For me, when it comes to using this compost crank, it's very simple. You know, it's got these heavy-duty nylon handles which I can spin like this in a clockwise motion, and that will take the compost crank deep into my compost pile. At that point, I'll take my hands and make a firm grip high on the handle, and I will pull it up, and that will allow some air to be drawn into the center of the pile. So I'm not going to take the compost crank and pull it all the way out of the compost pile after I do this. But this does accomplish the goal of aerating your compost pile. And then from there, it's very simple to go in a counterclockwise motion to take the compost crank out all the way. And from there, I'll go on to different sections, maybe 5 or 6 or more, as many as you feel like doing. You can do it straight up and down. You could do it at an angle. You're going to be getting the job done no matter what. And I find this very easy to use. For more helpful information and ways that you can support my channel, check out some of the links below the video description. When it comes to the basics of composting, you want to have a few things in place. Number one is going to be the ratio of carbon to nitrogen. Examples of carbon will be things like dried leaves, dried grass clippings, spent mushroom block substrate, or finely ground aged wood chips. Examples of nitrogen sources would be green cuttings from your garden or kitchen scraps. And the ratio of these is important. Every time I add a bucket of green garden clippings that are higher in nitrogen to my compost pile, I want to add at least twice as much carbon material, or the brown material. So just remember that ratio of 2 to 1 when it comes to browns versus greens. And the second element is moisture. You want to have your compost to be moist like a wrung out sponge. rich, not soaking wet, and certainly not bone dry. The elements in that compost which are breaking down the organic matter for you are, little organisms such as microbes, and we've got all kinds of things in there. Plus we've got little micro shredders, you've got all kind of bugs in there that are doing the job for you, and they need some moisture to survive. And the last thing is going to be air. Why? Because again, these are living elements and you're making a living compost, and this is exactly what's going to give life to your garden. Talking about the compost crank by Low Tech. For more help, somebody else makes some noise. I got confused. Now check out more awesome gardening videos on my channel, like this video, and follow New Garden Road for weekly content. You can grow your own food. Keep it organic.